have a hug. Won't be from me, but you're allowed to get hugged anyways. Kind of funny that I really dislike monkey cheese style humor. Yeah, I don't know why that keeps escaping my mouth. I like to think that nowadays my quote-unquote randomness is closer to, you know, absurdism in that it's still rooted in something. It's not pure, pure nonsense. It's not pure non sequitur. However, not gonna lie, watching a video of mine, I like to watch the sort of people, like, basically, you know, that do when I do blind runs but are competently edited, you know, carefully edited and whatnot. But Isocentration is a Let's Player that I love to watch that has a very similar flavor, and sometimes he kind of starts to run on my nerve and it goes for a while. So I guess the answer is not really, but he's really good at the games themselves and his super great attitude, which is why I stick around anyways. I certainly know how to play chess, although I am highly out of practice. Rabbit, I guess. I mean, cats are great animals, but they're kind of like jerks. Pretty good question. I've never played it, but I have watched 3 full Let's Plays of it, I think. I think it's really neat, if kind of tediously pointless in parts, but it's very imaginative and a lot of work is put in it, so I really do want to say a good job on that. And I'm not just saying that because there's a bit with Black Plague spinning around in it. Kind of did say a few short stories, and a short story counts as a story. I used to play the clarinet and the baritone saxophone when I was younger, but then I moved and I never played an instrument again. I love Meat Lover's Pizza if it does not have ham, and also if it has no cheese. But I also love pepper and mushroom, so I tend to go like basically all dressed. If I can have some bacon on it, I will, and I will always ask no cheese. Used to have a cat. I think a lot of long-time watchers remember Gaston. But ever since I moved, I'm in a no-pet place, so I don't have one now. If I move back out, I'm probably gonna look to have a place where I can have a cat, so I can go and get a rescue kitty or something, yeah. YNEOS? No, and, I don't know, like, I saw a few Mario 64 hacks that look pretty neat, but I still think that hacking that game is slightly too limited for what I find interesting. I don't know, like, I've seen 1 hack of it. Well, I've seen 3 hacks, but of those, like, 4 hacks, but of those 1 was, like, good, so there's just not enough of them yet. My parents are aware of my videos, but don't really say much about it. I know sometimes my dad watches one from time to time, but they're pretty cool with it, really don't say much. And a recent friend Sense knows of them and watched a few, and it's like, okay, but you know, they know it doesn't define me or anything, it's just this little hobby I do. Pisces, if you know about signs, you know what a Pisces entails, and you can reflect yourself if it reflects on my personality. If I were an animal, I'm not sure what I would be, however. I love greens because I find them very peaceful, and I just like the tint. Anti-red is the best color. But otherwise, man, probably a feline. It'd be fun just being able to be lazy all day. You know, like, house cat sleeps like 20 hours a day or something. That's crazy town. AOD and I met in the context of webcomics a million years ago when I was still in university. Back then I was doing the first instance or second of ATXS. Back then was just called Artificial Time, but I don't know which version it was. Basically, he sent me a huge fan letter and we started to exchange from there, and now we're pretty good friends. The end? Oh, mostly indie stuff, but I guess it counts as modern. I was born Catholic, raised Catholic, but I am fairly agnostic, I guess you could say, which is probably the lamest position to have. And, you know, peeps are free to be peeps. I have zero opinion in the sense that, you know, great for them. I don't care just as much as I don't care the sex life for pretty much anyone. And when I am in an English context, I will actually think in English. But if I'm in neutral, so to speak, I'll be thinking in French. Also, if something is more complex than expected, or is just a complex thing, yeah, usually I'll revert back to French, because that's my nature state. I'd like to see Mega Man X hacks, not gonna lie, although I think the game is very hard to hack. 3. Look in everything for my early Commander Keen videos, although, warning, they're rough. Also, do Nukem 1 and 2, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea, actually. Nope and nope. I don't think it's really bad the way things are going, insofar as just that my interests have slipped from the main... Basically what happens, to just restart my sentence in the middle there, is that video games are now reaching a far broader audience, and as such, video games will try to reach that broader audience with more mainstream taste. That's fine, and business-wise makes completely sense. I'm well aware that video games that appeal specifically to me won't make that much money, because my tastes are not that common, what with me preferring harder games and whatnot. But that's not wrong per se. It just means that I'm gonna have to dig around in nicher sort of areas. But that's fine, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't like mainstream music, and I watch, you know, fringe things, and that's fine. I don't watch mainstream TV even when I watched it. I watch specific things. Okay, movie-wise, I tend to watch mainstream nerd things, but I don't watch mainstream things. So, you know, that's fine. That's fine. That's how business world works, and that's fine. Own problems, I heard. Not really, and it's mostly a time-related thing. It's very harsh, time-wise, to collab with someone if you're not already someone that you talk often with, you know? It's hard to set up and whatnot. And, yeah. Basically, that's about it. Back then, you know, I was jobless, and probably didn't, like, if it was in the summer, I didn't go to school, so there was no issues. Same with Worms. A lot of the Worms or Megadon videos were done when no one was looking for work. I was just kind of doing LPs and commissions on the side. It's easy to schedule during that time. Now, it'd be a lot harder, especially since I'm working night shifts. Yes and no. I'll stick to a subject, but it's very difficult for me to explain things in a straightforward manner, which is hilarious in my work. Identical, proportion, and everything. Basically, I felt that just slave scumming through work trivializes that work. In other words, if you just kind of slave scum through a thing, the thing itself starts to lose meaning, and the game becomes meaningless, if you understand what I mean. I understand if people wish to give themselves checkpoint if a game is beyond their ability. However, there's a distinction between that and just literally putting a save every 3 seconds. Mind you, people who have born and raised playing a computer game might find that weird, because quick saving has always been a thing. But as a predominantly arcade and console player, for me, surviving is just as important, and to me is a very important part of the gameplay experience, and I just find it silly to just, you know, save scum, basically. Again, it's okay if people want to do it, but personally, like, if it's for a Let's Play or whatever, I'm going to lose interest because there's no stakes. Some people are going to tell me, okay, why would you want steaks in a YouTube video? That's dumb. Maybe, but it's what I like. Really, another person that because of work shift I barely ever see ever. It's basically a continuation of Artificial Time, which is an older comic on my end. Basically, I've always wanted to make a comic whose main feature was satirizing the whole concept of power creep. ATXS basically is where I feel like I'm a terrible writer in terms of writing, and so AOD is pretty good at writing. He's in fact really good, and I figured, and I asked him for help, and it just kind of evolved organically from there. Actually, ATXS started as one of those writing/arts activities, like creative activities, where I just draw a thing with no idea of the text, and he put text down, basically inspiring himself from my drawing, and I would not know ahead of time what he would write, and we just kind of riff off of each other like that. But eventually it just kind of grew into an actual thing. The caveat was that the first, I'd say 4 chapters don't really fit in with what we're doing right now, but oh well. Inertia? Well, that's not really fair. I just like the feeling that some people do, consume these things I do and really appreciate them, and for some of you I know it's an important part of your routine, and that to me means a lot. And so I keep on going. Also, the actual act of doing the thing is fun in itself, so that helps. Without any texture. What? I'm sure it's pretty good. It's just that in the meanwhile, I've got a lot of more indie games and other projects closer to what I prefer to do. I don't think non sequitur is something you really try to be so much as be, because if you try to force it, it sounds terrible. Terrible. Clearing is going pretty badly, let's be honest here, and I don't know. Just trying to survive one day at a time. It's either zen or laziness, you decide. Yeah, I pretty much accept it. Palpitate. Also, I love the yellow jelly beans. Probably Dave or Drew, let's be honest here. I love the low-key ones. Some people can find them, so now it's an even more hidden joke. And all you noobs, more like rubes. Being new to this has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Lamp is okay, though. As you said, it's not a question, so I ain't answering. Eating at least 3 sandwiches. Already answered! It's been so long! Kinda answered this before, but I have to comment that commas are indeed everywhere. Just letting loose, really. I'm a fairly, reserved person out there in the real life, except if you start to befriend me for real, to which I become closer, but not quite as extreme as the quote-unquote random personality Let's Play. But it's just, trying to have fun and expressing that through worth. How do I mispronounce words as worth? Yes. I already answered these, more kind of. I admit I'm doing them in semi-reverse order, so it's not your fault 228 some guy, but it certainly is your fault. I agree, but you'll notice a lot of questions aren't really all that personal, and for the most part, I'm not really giving any information that I wouldn't otherwise anyways give in a video otherwise. This is now I have an explicit context. A guy? Not really, and I mean, it's not like I'm really friends with Ruth525, other than to say that we both appreciate each other's work. So I'm a respectful acquaintance with some YouTubers, I guess. And where did I come with the name Roacow? Not sure how would I hire you part there works, considering probably contact me and then you'd say, hey, do you want to do voice work? And I'd be cautious at first and then something. It's a weird question. It's weirdly asked. I agree. Kinda answered all of these, but except biggest inspiration, I basically started in the heydays of LPs, and I basically wanted to answer a question no one asked, but or rather, propose a new direction or something. I'm not, And hardest part, that being jobless for a lot of it and just kind of surviving out of stuff. It's pretty harsh. Time a fan emailed me basically a transcript of an entire video of mine back in, I think it was Rise Challenge. When I saw that email and that he then said he retranscribed it from memory, I just kind of did not reply after turning off the email. Can't say anything official other than the high-quality voice acting of Super Marissa World and other similar projects. But I think my microphone is fine. Like, it's not perfect, but for what I use it for, like, I just don't see the interest in, like, investing in super high-class equipment. Ibuki, think of me what you will. Okay, so the first cat I ever had when I was the smallest, I guess, was a female calico named Ding Dong, who we had killed because my mother was babysitting kids home at a time, and the cat attacked one of the kids. That was pretty bad. Other cats I had since then, in rough chronological order. We had Leo, which was a rescue. We had Tuffy and Patuff. The only time I had 2 cats at once. Had a black and white cat named Max. I had a pure white cat that was rescued from outside. It had mitten hands called Bonhomme. And then there was Gaston. And that's all the cats I've had. The thing is, like,